Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Candice. Today we're going to talk about something that God's been talking to me about lately and just, showing me through different scriptures and stuff, which is the fear, not like terrified of somebody, but like the actual righteous fear of God and like the reverence of God, respecting God, being in awe of God, and how we've kind of lost that as a culture in a way. And how getting back to that is really good. It's a good thing overall, right? We're going to talk about it, but let's pray. God, thank you so much for creating everything, for being everywhere all the time, for always hearing us when we talk to you, for giving us eyes to see, ears to hear, for showing us your greatness through all of the things that you made and how beautiful and creative and different they all are, and just how you have everything work together perfectly. I ask that you would bless anybody watching this video and that this video would be yours, not mine. These words would be yours, not mine. I ask these things in Jesus Christ's name. So, as a culture, right, especially in the West, here, I think we have gotten to a point culturally, right, where we have kind of divorced God from our daily lives. We have cut him out of everything that he's created. We've tried to not give him credit for all the things that he's done. And this starts really early. I mean, honestly, when kids are really, really little, they might go to Sunday school on the weekend or whatever and maybe get like an hour of God. And if they're lucky, they'll have Christian parents who are teaching them more about God at home. But by the time they're 5, they're usually in school, right? And if they're in public school divorces God from everything, right? You're not even allowed to talk about God in public school. So they'll teach you about anatomy, they'll teach you about chemistry, they'll teach you that the universe somehow cosmically sneezed and came into being perfectly all on its own. They'll teach you that, yes, there are all these different creatures and stuff, but they evolved from bacteria. That we somehow evolved from bacteria. Which, I mean, if you think about it, the way that they divorce God from everything, takes God out of the equation, number one, right? But when you take God out of the equation, it really brings up children with this idea that they are not special, that they are just some evolved bacteria or something, or evolved from monkeys or whatever they claim these days, and that this takes away kind of the purpose of their life, right? This takes away any sort of morality in a way, if you think about it, because if you're here and you're here by some cosmic accident and you don't really know what your purpose is or what you're supposed to be doing or how you're supposed to be doing it, morality can kind of get thrown out the window, because it's just like, okay, well, I'm just a cosmic accident, so I'm here just doing what I want, however I want, and who cares about the rest? We raise children in the education system basically with this idea, and that all the credit for God's creation, all the credit for everything God's done goes to science or luck or an accident or coincidence, or goes to, scientists and all these other things, but it doesn't actually go to God. So we sit here and we study the lower level of science, which is the investigation of God's creation, by the way. But we, and then we just keep this the top level. We don't be like, hey, yeah, all this points to him. All this is because of him. He created you, Now, of course, that's just how public school rolls. But by the time kids are 18, 20, they've grown up with this idea, especially if they haven't had, the God side of things reinforced at home. And so then we wonder why, a lot of Christians are going to church on the weekends, but then like during the middle of the week they don't trust God in their lives. They don't pray to him to ask for things like to send rain or to, heal their sniffles. Like, we'll immediately go to a weatherman to see if the rain is going to happen, or go to a physician to try and heal our bodies, when other humans only know like this much, right? But God knows everything there is to know about our bodies and about the world. And it's like going to an operator or something when you have the direct phone line. It's kind of a useless endeavor. And that's the thing. When we trust other people, we trust science, we trust, whatever we've been taught more than we trust God, then we don't fully know God, and we don't have this close relationship with him, which is what he wants. He wants us to have a super close relationship with him. He wants us to really know him. And the beginning of that knowing him is really just acknowledging all the things he's done, right? And realizing how dependent we are on him, right? If it wasn't for God, I would not be breathing right now. Like, the air coming into my lungs is all God's doing, not mine. My next breath is from God, right? He is the one having this computer work so I can do this video for you. He's the one making sure that, I have whatever he wants to say in my head so you guys can hear it. He makes the sunshine, he brings the rain when we need the rain, he makes all the flowers and things grow exactly at the right time. In the springtime, he doesn't have them start growing in the middle of winter, right? They grow in the spring when they're supposed to grow. He has the sun and the moon and the stars all in their places and doing what they need to do. He created every single atom of our body, from our heads down to our toes. He counts the hairs on our heads. Like, Jesus himself said that, right? All of the hairs on our head are counted. Like, God knows exactly how many are there. Even when, 5 or 6 fall out a day, he's still got that running tally of how many hairs are on our heads. And I think we just don't sit in this, and we don't like meditate on how big he is and how small we really are. But that's where, we begin to start understanding him. And we begin to start developing a relationship with him. Because when we realize, how big he is. I mean, he created literally everything. He is like everywhere all the time. He can hear your thoughts. He knows exactly what's going to come out of your mouth before it comes out of your mouth, right? And he wants to have this relationship with you, and he wants to guide you in your life and heal you from things and just bring you closer to him throughout the course of our existence here on this earth. And a lot of the times we don't even acknowledge that. Like, even Christians, and I'm speaking mostly to Christians here, but you see a lot of Christians go to church on Sundays and then not trust him in the rest of the week. Or they'll go to church on Sundays, but they don't acknowledge that he could help them with this problem they're having, or that he could help them with this health issue, or that he could, fix this other problem or this trauma that they haven't fully mentally healed from yet, Like, we still have that mindset of, divorcing him from things and not acknowledging him, but acknowledging all this other stuff first and trying to get all this other stuff to work in our favor and do the things that only God can do for us. And when we really start sitting down, right, and just thinking about how big he is, thinking about how many things he's actually done for us in our lives already, right? I mean, honestly, how many of us have had mindset of, woe is me, my life is miserable, this, and this are happening, and I really want this to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. And we get into this, victim mindset mentality, or just boo-hoo-hooing for ourselves, right? And then the cure really to that is if we sit down and just think about all the things that God has already done in our lives, right? God had us be born, first off, right? He created us. He designed us. He had us be born at a specific time for a specific purpose in our life, right? He takes care of us. He watches out for us. He listens to us when we pray, He is always there, even if he doesn't exactly answer a prayer because it's not aligned with his will. He's still listening to them, right? And he's still there for us no matter what. Sorry, guys. Oh. And he's always, just one step away, just waiting for us to reach out. He's at the door knocking, and he's just waiting for us to open up and let him in. But I think because, again, that mindset of divorcing him, we almost treat him as though he is our equal. A lot of churches that I've been to, have kind of pushed this almost like a God is your bro sort of a thing, like God wants to be your friend, which yes, he does, but he is also our authority. And I think we've kind of, in the way that, a lot of people, parents want to befriend their kids, but then you lose that authority aspect, is the same kind of way it's happening in the church, where it's like, well, he's there if we really need him, he's kind of a friend, but we don't acknowledge that he should be in control of our lives, that he should be leading us and guiding us, and we should be letting him do so because he knows better than we do. That's where, that fear, and I'm not talking about you're afraid and scared of somebody, somebody's gonna hurt you, right? This is the fear that knowing that he is so big and we are so small, acknowledging the fact that he is basically gonna say if we're going into heaven or not when we die. Knowing that he created us and he can take us out of this world at any instant should he choose to do so when he's ready that our time is up, right? Just knowing those things gives you this respect for God, right? And that respect, right, then translates into our lives of, okay, I know he's so big, I can trust him with this, right? Or I know he's so big, he can guide me in this decision because he already knows what's going to be best for me. So I would like to leave this decision in his hands and let him choose for me. Jesus himself, when he's talking about, why are we worrying so much? He's like, the lilies of the field and the birds and all that. And then he's like, if you can't even add 1 inch to your height by thinking about it, then why are you worrying about all the rest? And this is the least. Why are you worrying about all the rest? He basically made it so, he was saying, that adding 1 inch to our height is like a small act, right? To God, that's just something that he could just go, there you go. But we ourselves, of course, cannot do that. We can't just think, oh, I want to be 1 inch taller, and poof, we are. That's something so out of the realm of what we can do, right? But this is one of the least things for God. And he's saying, if this is one of the least things and you cannot do it, then why are you worrying about the rest of it? Why are you worrying about all these other things that you should let God worry about and deal with? Because those are things that you can't handle on your own anyway. So why are you worrying about them? Why are you taking thought for all these things when it's not, your responsibility to be worrying about all these things, right? We should be trusting God. The point being that we should trust God with all of our daily decisions, trust God with our problems, trust God with relationship issues, and seek his guidance if there's anything that we should be doing in those situations, right? Or just giving those situations into his hands and letting him deal with it, because he has the power to do all that, and we a lot of the times don't, right? Only God can make circumstances happen to change people's hearts, right? Only God can turn someone's heart to make them love, to have them want to love him or to love other people, right? I can't go and through manipulation or trying or doing all these things somehow make somebody else love me or make them, want to change. They have to want to change on their own, and God's the one who makes that happen, not me, right? But we worry about all these different things, and what we need to be focused on, right, is the fact that God is huge. God knows everything. He created everything. He is in charge of everything. And honestly, if you actually really dig deep into this and think about all the things that God does for you on a daily basis, like making you breathe, keeping you in good health, helping you with relationship issues with family, with friends, helping you and listening to you when you pray, and all these things. When you sit there and you actually acknowledge all these things and think about these things, it's comforting to know that He's the one in control and not me, right? Like, I am happy that God is God and I am not, because I can't even imagine all of the things that He has to deal with, all of the prayers He's dealing with, all of the people, all of the situations He's trying to put into exact orders that need to be so it'll all work out exactly the way He wants it to, He is way better at all that than I ever could be. So I will leave things in His hands, and it is comforting to know that He is the one taking care of them, right? But as we shift into that mindset of reverencing Him and respecting Him and actually being in awe of all the amazing things that He's done, like Jesus says that there is a tally of how many hairs are on your head. Like, God knows exactly how many hairs are on your head at any given moment. Like, for Him to know that, plus everything else, and know exactly how many thousands of different kinds of spiders He made, and, all these different things, like, He is amazing, right? We don't give Him credit enough for it. But when we do, and we start cultivating this attitude of thankfulness, right, and gratitude, and thanking Him for all the things He has done for us, and even if there's things that we're desiring that He hasn't given us yet, or just aren't in the right timing yet for us, or maybe we won't ever get, depending on His will, as long as we're, thanking Him for all the things He has done, and we're cultivating that mindset, then we will be satisfied with Him, right? Even though we might not have riches or fame or this or that, we will be satisfied because we know the Creator of the universe, and we know that He's taking care of us. And we know that ultimately He is in control. We are not, which is a lovely thing. I mean, we have this false sense of thinking that if we're in control, then somehow things will be better, right? Or if we're in control, it'll make us feel better about things. But honestly, as a reformed control freak, okay, I will say, knowing that I am not in control is a relief. Knowing that God is God and I am not, and I don't have to be responsible for those things that He's responsible for, is awesome, really. Like, just knowing that He is who He is and I am not is a huge, weight off of my shoulders, right? And as we really just start acknowledging Him in all these things and knowing that He can do all these things, right, then our trust with Him deepens, and we're able to do things like pray for healing and have faith and receive it and actually be healed without having to go to a doctor. Been there, done that, been there, had God do that for me in multiple areas of my health with that one. But then we, are able to just have that communion with God and have that relationship with God that goes deeper than just surface level going to church on Sundays or Saturdays or whatever day of the week you decide to go. But that's where real knowledge really begins. I think it's in Proverbs, something about the fear of God is the beginning of all wisdom, or beginning of knowledge. Right? Because as you learn about God and you realize how big He is and how small we are, then you can start trusting Him. Then you start handing things over to Him. Then, you develop this relationship with Him where He starts telling you, hey, that thing you're doing? I don't like that. And then you want to please God. You start, having this nice relationship with Him, and you're like, oh, okay. That thing, yeah, I can see that thing might not be so pleasing to you. you should probably get rid of that or stop doing that, you know. And he starts cleaning these things out of you, right? He starts divorcing you from habits and mentalities and thought processes and stuff like that you don't need and that aren't good for you, right? And yes, going into this relationship and going deeper with him, there are times when it is difficult. Not gonna lie, right? Because God doesn't leave you where you're at, right? When you come to God, he will take you wherever you are, no matter how bad your life is, no matter how much you've sinned. Like, he will take you where you are and love you. But he's gonna start changing you. Like, he doesn't leave you in your sin. He loves you too much to just leave you in bad habits or leave you in negative mental trauma that you haven't dealt with, or whatever the case may be, right? He loves you so much that he's like, okay, let's start doing some work, right? And he will take you through the process of dealing with all the things. And there are days when that really sucks. I'm not gonna lie. There are days when that is incredibly difficult, and it's like the last thing on the face of the planet that you want to be doing because you're stressed out by a bunch of other stuff. But when we actually do it, when we walk through it, when we get closer to him and he starts divorcing us from all those things that we don't need anymore, our lives get better, right? Our relationship with him becomes better. Our relationship with our family and our friends becomes better because now we have a better relationship with God, which makes us better. And so then we can be better towards other people, right? Which improves those relationships. I mean, having this fear and respect of God and awe of God is the beginning of the changes of everything, right? I mean, God can start changing you before that if he so desires, you know, but I think when you really start getting that mindset of how big he is and how much he can do for you and just how much he does in general for us already, that's when we can start, you know, digging deeper. And that relationship, having it deeper and having it just fully where you are dependent on God, and that's not like a weird codependency or like these weird, you know, psychological things that are not so good. This is like actually fully 100% completely and totally trusting him and knowing that he has the best in mind for you, and he wants you to have a great life. He wants you to, you know, learn all the things you need to learn. He wants you to have experiences that are going to make you a better person. Right? Now, some of those things may be hard, but he knows that at the end of it, you are going to come out much better than you were before, right? And it's going to be good for you. So when we trust him fully and completely with that, then we are okay with being like, okay, God, this big decision is before me. Do you want me to go this way? Or do you want me to go this way? And he'll tell you, hey, I want you to go this way. And so you'll be like, okay, let's go. Right? It comes to the point where you trust him fully and let him be responsible for all the things that, you know, he is responsible for. And then all you're really responsible for is trusting him and walking with him. And if he asks you to go away, then to go with him. Right? I mean, I know it kind of makes it sound a little bit easier than it really is some days. But I think that the more difficult days are when you're still learning to fully trust him. Once you've gotten to that point where it's like, okay, I fully trust you with my finances, God. I trust you with my career, God. I trust you with my family. I trust you with my kids. I trust you with this. You know, as you give all these things to him and as he teaches you that each and every single one of these areas of your life, that he is in control of it and that he does have the best in mind for you, then you let go, right? Your hands come off of it. And as your hands come off of it, life just becomes easier mentally because you know that, hey, even though this job just ended, I've got some savings built up, but I know this job ended and I'm going to need another income. God, I am not going to stress about this because I know you're going to provide. I know you'll open a door where it needs to be opened and we're good. I got this. It's okay. You know, God, you're in control of that, right? Or say you end up with some sort of thing with a family member or something, right? And you're like, okay, God, yeah, this is happening with this and this person, there's conflict here or whatever, but I know ultimately that you're going to work this out. You're going to help me, tell me what to do, or you're going to change their heart or something to make this work out. So I'm not going to stress about it. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to give it into your hands, pray about it, and that'll be it. Right? And then you can walk through life pretty stress-free for the most part, right? And if there is any area of stress that shows up, it's usually just an indicator that there's something else you need to talk to God about and need to trust him with, right? But life gets way more joyful. Like you said, joy comes in the morning, in Psalms. Joy comes in the morning. You've turned my morning, my MOURN, like feeling bad, into dancing, like as we go through the things, as we walk this relationship with God, things do get better. You go through some rough patches, you go through a little wilderness here and there because he's teaching you things or purging you of things or making you learn things, but ultimately you do end up way, way better on the other side. And I think to get to this level of a relationship, you have to have that fear of God, not that understanding and that respect of him, right? And like knowing that he is big and he is in charge of it all, not just like knowing it up here, but knowing it in here. And trusting that he's going to take care of it. I hope this all made sense and has, blessed you in some way. I will see you guys next time. Bye.